Everything changes in a matter of seconds. I mean, really think about it. One moment, you're standing up there on the podium. The confetti is raining down around you. You are holding the ultimate prize in professional football. You're champion. You've officially conquered the doubts, all the exhausting media narratives, and the grueling, brutal gauntlet that is the NFL season. And then, the screen fades to black. A new season approaches, and somehow, inexplicably, the world just forgets. Welcome to this NFL Nexus explainer, where we're going to break down what is easily one of the most baffling, head-scratching narratives heading into the 2026 season. But before we unravel this entire mystery, I need you to do your part. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that like button on this explainer, comment down below with what you thought about all of this, and definitely support the channel by becoming a channel member. Your support is exactly what fuels these deep dives. All right, let's look at how history is literally being rewritten before our very eyes. I want you to just sit with that question for a second. We're going to take this slowly and deliberately because it honestly defies belief. How does a reigning champion become an afterthought in a matter of seconds? Look, we live in an era of the NFL where recency bias usually dictates absolutely everything, right? You win the big game and you get instantly elevated to this godlike status by the national media. It's almost automatic. But yesterday, Pro Football Focus, which, as we know, is one of the most respected, purely data-driven analytical platforms in all of sports media, they released their quarterback projections for the upcoming 2026 season. And they made a choice that doesn't just defy logic, it actively spits in the face of recent, documented history. It's a choice that completely upends how we evaluate success at the quarterback position. 14. Just let that number hang there for a moment. I really want you to feel the sheer, heavy audacity of it. Out of 32 starting quarterbacks in the National Football League, Pro Football Focus looked at a reigning Super Bowl champion, a guy who was a back-to-back Pro Bowler, and they decided, yeah, he belongs at number 14. Just slightly above the absolute middle of the pack. I mean, typically when a quarterback hoists a Lombardi trophy, the analyst community grants them this kind of absolute narrative immunity. They get anointed as franchise saviors, they become these untouchable elites, instantly catapulted into the top 5 conversations, regardless of any of their previous flaws. But see, we aren't talking about some game manager who was just dragged to a title by a historic all-time defense. We're talking about Sam Darnold, ranked 14th. This simple 2-digit number is arguably the most insulting piece of analytical projection we've seen in years. It entirely strips away all the grit, the flawless execution, and the undeniable victories of the last 24 months, effectively reducing a proven champion to a coin flip starter.
Section 1. The ultimate disrespect. Contextual weight.
Now, to truly understand the magnitude of this disrespect, we have to remember how PFF actually frames these lists. PFF has been explicitly clear that this is not a reflection of where these quarterbacks were in 2025. No, they claim this is a projection of where they believe these players will be in 2026. So they are actively predicting a massive, inexplicable cliff for a player who literally just reached the absolute pinnacle of the sport. They're looking into their analytical crystal ball and deciding that the momentum and the confidence of a Super Bowl victory are entirely meaningless. But honestly, it gets so much worse when you look at the names surrounding him on this list. PFF placed Sam Darnold behind Jaden Daniels, behind Caleb Williams, and just barely ahead of Jalen Hurts and Jared Goff. I need you to let the absolute gut punch reality of that sink in for a second. Darnold is being ranked behind 3 quarterbacks he literally just beat. On the field, in the playoffs, en route to a Super Bowl title last season. He looked them in the eye, systematically dismantled their defenses, outdueled them when the lights were at their absolute brightest, and he sent them packing. Yet somehow, in the eyes of the analysts, that head-to-head, high-stakes dominance means absolutely zero.
Section 2. The key moment. A champion's resume.
To even attempt to justify a ranking of 14th, you would logically assume his recent resume is just full of massive holes, right? You'd assume 2025 was some bizarre, completely unrepeatable fluke, a lucky bounce of the football. But when we meticulously unpack the microscopic details of his last 2 years, the tension between this media narrative and the cold, hard reality completely snaps, because this wasn't a one-year wonder scenario, not even close. This was a methodical, 2-year hostile takeover of the NFL landscape. Just look at these numbers. 2 years operating at a 67% completion rate, 8,367 passing yards, 60 touchdowns. He spearheaded top 10 offenses in consecutive years, earning consecutive Pro Bowl nods along the way. And here is the absolute most critical detail that literally everyone seems to be glossing over. He accomplished these staggering statistics across 2 completely different teams. Do you realize how insanely difficult that is?
That means adapting to entirely different supporting casts. It means learning entirely different offensive philosophies, shifting from a system heavily reliant on outside zone run action to a complex, pure drop-back aerial assault. It means working with entirely different coaching staffs. He had to master completely different route concepts and protection schemes on the fly, without missing a beat. This wasn't a product of being hidden inside one genius coordinator's perfectly curated system. This was Sam Darnold, the player, being the rising tide that single-handedly lifted two separate franchises to the elite tier of the National Football League.
And you know when the pressure was at its absolute peak? He didn't shrink. I want you to relive the visceral memory of that 2026 NFC title game against the Los Angeles Rams. The stakes were astronomical, the stadium was absolutely deafening, a trip to the Super Bowl was literally on the line. And Darnold delivered an absolute monster of a performance. He didn't just manage the game to keep them in it, he took the game by the throat. He was threading the needle between diving safeties, he was stepping up into these collapsing pockets, taking the sheer physical punishment of elite pass rushers right under his chin and still delivering pinpoint strikes on 3rd and long. He willed his team to victory. That game wasn't just a good Sunday, it was the ultimate culmination of a proven championship reality. And of course, he followed it up by hosting the Lombardi Trophy. You don't just fake your way through an NFC championship and a Super Bowl, you conquer them.
Section 3. The immediate impact. Defying regression.
So what changes right now? Seriously, how does a back-to-back top-tier performer suddenly get relegated to the middle of the pack? What is the actual mathematical justification for projecting such a severe regression? Usually, analysts point to two things when predicting a quarterback's downfall: a physical decline due to age, or the catastrophic loss of a supporting cast. Well, let's tackle that age factor first, because it is by far the most glaring flaw in this entire projection model. 29. Sam Darnold just turned 29 years old. He is quite literally in the absolute prime of a modern NFL quarterback's lifespan. I mean, we are watching quarterbacks in today's league play at MVP levels well into their late 30s. So to suggest that a 29-year-old, fully healthy, reigning Super Bowl champion is suddenly going to experience some massive age-related physical regression in the 2026 season is logically, medically, and mathematically completely off the table. His arm strength is peaking. His processing speed is peaking. The game has literally never been slower for him than it is right at this very moment.
Okay, so if it isn't age, it must be the team around him, right? Let's look at the reality of his 2026 situation. Let's weigh the upgrades versus the obstacles. His offensive line is actually projected to be even better this year, providing him with an even cleaner pocket to dissect defenses from. His primary receiving targets have been upgraded, giving him a far more lethal arsenal on the perimeter than he even had in 2025. Now, yes, there are minor hurdles, a changed backfield and a new offensive coordinator. But as we literally just established, Darnold already proved he can switch entire franchises, learn a new playbook from scratch, and still produce 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. A new play caller isn't a roadblock for a guy like this. It's just a new canvas. He isn't relying on a play caller to hold his hand. With his elite pre-snap processing, he approaches the line of scrimmage, instantly identifies the Mike linebacker, diagnoses the rotation of the safeties, and audibles at the line. His transcendent football IQ turns any offensive system into a devastating weapon.
Section 4. Unproven hype versus proven reality.
To truly grasp the sheer disrespect here, we have to wade into the deep, murky waters of unproven hype versus proven reality. We need to actually examine the specific players Pro Football Focus decided were definitively better than the reigning Super Bowl champion. Look, the media loves potential. They are absolutely addicted to what a player could be, often blinding themselves entirely to what a player actually is. Take Trevor Lawrence, for example. PFF ranked Lawrence ahead of Darnold. Let's put their resumes side by side. On one side, you have Lawrence, entering his second year in the Liam Cohen offense. His career highlights: one playoff win, one Pro Bowl nod all the way back in 2022. On the other side, you have Sam Darnold, a Super Bowl champion, back-to-back Pro Bowls in 2024 and 2025, and a proven conqueror of the NFC. So ask yourself, why is the media so incredibly eager to bet on the theoretical, hypothetical ceiling of Trevor Lawrence while actively ignoring the concrete, undeniable championship reality that Darnold literally just built with his own two hands? Then you have Brock Purdy. Now, don't get me wrong, Purdy is a fantastic operator, but we have to have a very serious, probing conversation about the ecosystem here. Purdy lives safely under the wing of Kyle Shanahan's meticulously designed, incredibly quarterback-friendly system in San Francisco. It's an offense that is specifically designed to create wide-open spaces, manipulate linebackers with constant pre-snap motion, and provide easy manufactured reads. Is it really trustworthy to rank a highly system-dependent quarterback ahead of Sam Darnold, a man who has definitively proven he can win at the highest possible level with elite production while adapting to two completely different franchises? Darnold isn't a product of an ecosystem, he is the engine that drives the ecosystem itself. And then there's the media's absolute infatuation with the youth movement. PFF ranked Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Jordan Love all ahead of Darnold. Let's just take these one by one. With Caleb Williams, the media is desperately waiting for his arrival, completely banking on a generational ceiling that we just haven't seen consistently materialize at the professional level yet. It's entirely potential overproduction. With Jaden Daniels, it's a wildly risky bet on a young player who Darnold quite literally dismantled head-to-head on his own title run. And with Jordan Love, the media is sitting around with bated breath just praying for an ascension to the Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers tier. It is incredibly dangerous to bet your entire projection model on brief, fleeting glimpses of elite play from unproven youth while you actively penalize a 29-year-old veteran who has spent the last 2 calendar years consistently achieving that exact elite status week in and week out.
Section 5. The scale of history. A contradiction.
Now, this elevates to something much, much larger than just one single list. We are looking at the scale of history and the stubborn, ingrained biases of sports media. There's this heavy burden of draft pedigree and a totally unforgiving memory for veterans who had rocky starts to their careers. Because Sam Darnold's early years in New York and Carolina were chaotic, and let's be honest, they were, the media just refuses to update their internal hard drives. They are absolutely terrified to admit that the player they confidently wrote off 5 years ago has evolved into an unstoppable force. They would much rather project a rookie to be great than admit a veteran already is. And you want to know the ultimate irony in all of this? 10. PFF themselves, the very same outlet that just ranked him 14th for this upcoming season, literally graded Sam Darnold as the 10th highest rated quarterback in the entire National Football League for both the 2024 and 2025 seasons. Think about that. Their own analytics, their own grueling tape grading, their own proprietary formulas definitively stated he was a top 10 quarterback for 2 consecutive years. Yet the moment they have to project forward, they magically drop him 4 spots down the board, behind rookies and system quarterbacks. It is a stunning, blatant contradiction of their very own data.
Section 6. An unfinished story.
Make no mistake, this is not a finished story. If anything, this PFF ranking has just poured a massive amount of gasoline on a fire that was already burning white hot. The upcoming 26 season for Sam Darnold is no longer just some casual victory lap to celebrate a Super Bowl ring. It has officially been transformed into a revenge tour. A tour against the media's stubborn bias, against the analytical contradictions, and against every single analyst who watched him hoist the Lombardi Trophy and still decided he was just middle of the pack. As Brendan Nelson wrote for Yardbarker, it's time to start treating him like a top 10 quarterback. I really want you to read that quote again. Feel the heavy conviction behind it. Because he's right. Darnold has paid his dues. He has survived the utter dysfunction of his early career. He has completely mastered the single most difficult position in professional sports. He has put up the 8,000 yards. He has thrown the 60 touchdowns. He has won the conference. He has won the Super Bowl. He demands respect, not as a cute, feel-good comeback story, but as an undeniable apex predator in this league.
So I want to leave you with this lingering, provocative thought. What else does a champion actually need to do to finally earn your respect? If back-to-back top 10 seasons, consecutive Pro Bowls, and a Super Bowl ring at age 29 aren't enough to crack the top 10, then maybe the system itself is fundamentally broken. I want you to really think about that as we head into this highly anticipated 2026 season. And before you go, please do not forget to subscribe to NFL Nexus, like this explainer, leave a comment down below with your thoughts on Darnold's ranking, and become a channel member to support the deep dives we do here. We will see you next time.